The next year, this year that's coming up for you is going to be a very challenging year. I mean, we're coming off a pandemic in which Rotary has changed a great deal. We went from all meeting in person all the time to not meeting in person, to meeting some in person, some not in person. We meet virtually, we meet hybrid. Clubs are going to have to make decisions as to how they meet, when they meet. Things are going to be different. I've heard it explained that Rotary is going to be like rubber bands and paper clips. That there are some things that we did in Rotary that are going to be like rubber bands. We've stretched things, and when COVID's over, they're going to spring back just like they were before, just like a rubber band. But there are going to be some things that are going to be like paper clips. We've bent them like a paper clip, and we're never going to be able to bend them back to the way they were before. Things have changed. And you as a leader are going to have to figure out what things are rubber bands and what things are paper clips. Okay, so it's going to take some doing to do that. And I want you to keep in mind, as I've indicated in pre-pets, that you don't need to do that yourself. You're going to need to use your club. You're going to need to use your board of directors. If you try to make these decisions yourself as to what you do, you're going to hit a brick wall. It's not going to, I just sat in for just one session today on change, and I heard Betsy made a comment that somebody had made earlier that if you're trying to lead and nobody's following you,
You're just walking.
You're just taking a walk. What a great line. I mean, that's exactly what's going to happen if you try to do this alone. You've got to get your club involved. I mean, I would refer you, when in the pre-pet session, we talked about presidential responsibilities, about knowing and communicating with your assistant governor. We talked about knowing what your goals are, evaluating your goals, talking to your club about your goals and your board, about presiding over your meetings and not being the meeting. Your job as the leader is to run the meeting, not to be the meeting. It's not a download from you. It's your job to go around and run the meeting.
That's right.
You want to ensure continuity and leadership. If you're sitting here next year, then you probably didn't do your job. You want somebody else to be sitting here. You want to make sure that they look and see somebody else, that people look at you and say, wow, that person looks like they're having a good time. And you want to make it that people want to do this. Okay, so that you don't wind up doing this every year. One thing Raja Jan, who's going to talk later, going to be our speaker on Saturday night, I think. A very admirable woman, but she was the president of her Rotary Club for 20 years. I'd love to ask her how she wound up being the president of her Rotary Club for 20 years. That is just amazing to me that somebody would be the president for 20 years in a row. So these things that we talked about in pre-pecs are all in the president resources guide, which is where? Where would you find the president resources guide?
Your Rotary.
On my Rotary, not my Rotary.
District 6440.
On the District 6440 website. And everybody went to pre-pets, went there and checked that out, right? Okay, if you haven't gone there yet, you really need to go and check that out because there's lots of good information there. Okay, a few weeks ago, for everybody, all the people that had pre-registered on or had put their name on Club Runner as a president, I mailed out our budget. Okay, the budget that I had prepared and had approved by the finance committee. And that budget needs to be approved today. I also sent an email out asking that we were going to vote on that budget today. The budget was pretty involved. We've got some slides now that we're going to show, and I've condensed this budget. If you've hopefully you've had a chance to look at that. I sent that to you in earlier. And when I sent this budget out, I put 5 years up there, and I put 5 years on the budget for a reason. It was 2018, 2019 was the last year we had a non-COVID year. So when I did the budget this year, I'm hoping we have a non-COVID year. Okay, so I wanted to have you give you an opportunity to compare the budget for 2022-23 to a non-COVID year, which would have been the last one, 2018 to 2019. 2019-20 was Suzanne Gibson's year, which was a partially COVID year. 2021 was Lyle's year, and 2021, that should say 2022. Oh no, that 2021, December 31st, 21 is Kevin's year, and that was the last time we've had financial numbers for that, but that's a COVID year also. So I wanted you to be able to compare two non-COVID years. If you look at the numbers for revenue, they are basically the same. Things haven't changed. The revenue is approximately the same. It's a little bit higher, primarily because we're expecting a little money from youth exchange. RILA is going to be a little higher. We're expecting more students for RILA and a little bit more money for youth exchange. But that's where the additional money is going to come from. One of the issues that I think we're going to have in the future is that as membership decreases and membership is trending down, our revenues are going to go down. We need to pick our revenues up. One of my goals for this year is going to be to increase membership on a net basis. I mean, I think we've done a good job in the past of bringing new members in, but as most past district governors will tell you, across the world, we don't do a very good job of keeping members. I mean, we're gonna make a big effort, and we've had that in our strategic plan, that we are going to make a big effort to retain the members that we currently have. And not only did we indicate that we were going to do that in our strategic plan, but Jennifer Jones has an initiative to bring out plans to do that too. She plans on having programs for new members to encourage them and not indoctrinate, but give me the word for that.
Initiate.
Introduce.
Pardon me? Inspire, to inspire them to continue enrolling. So you can see the revenues are basically the same. You want to go to the expenditures? Okay, our expenditures are higher in this year than they were in 2000 and whatever that was, Julie's year. The primary reason that the expenditures are going to be higher is that costs have, in the convention this year or next year is going to be in Australia. Costs of going to Australia are going to be high because of transportation costs. So there's going to be, the district pays for the governor to go to Australia, for the district governor-elect to go to Australia. In addition to that, since the past district governor, since Lyle, Kevin, and Suzanne couldn't go on their trip, which is kind of a benefit of being a district governor, the board voted to allow them to go to the district, to go to Australia because they didn't spend the money in the years that they didn't go. So that budgeted money got carried forward and it all got put in this year. So that's why those expenditures are up. But you can see the expenses are, again, the expenses stay about the same. And if you go down to the bottom, you can see net revenue equals zero. I'm planning a balanced budget, which is something that people in the United States don't see much of. But, I'm an accountant, and that was important to me to have a zero, to have a line there at the bottom. So if you had a chance to look at this, if you have any questions, I would be happy to entertain them. Yes, sir.
My question is for the pets expenditure at 27,000. That's just for 6440.
That's
So
it.
each district is putting that much money into this event this weekend
You pay per member. We pay $500 per member. Per club.
per club. Is there a way to lower that? Can we Zoom? Can we meet in a church basement? I think it's a lot of money to spend. And sorry, I know I'm going to get like dirty looks after this, but can we use that money elsewhere? Maybe I'm wrong. I'm honestly asking.
And I'll give you the best answer I can. There's something called a Pets Council, which meets several times a year. And the Pets Council is comprised of people from our district, as well as people from the other 6 districts, and people that oversee. There's a treasurer and everybody, and they keep costs down as low as they possibly can. We pay for speakers, we pay for this location, If you have been involved in pets many years ago, before we did this multi-district pets, we used to do pets ourselves. We had our district did pets. It wasn't anything close to this. This is a really good event. As I indicated early on, this is the best thing we do. It is a premier event. Could we do it a little cheaper? It's possible. We're going to operate at a loss this year. But we've got reserves that are going to pay for that loss because we've got people online. We guaranteed a certain amount of rooms. We guarantee a certain amount for meals. You got drink tickets this year. You normally don't get drink tickets. You got drink tickets this year because we paid. We had a guaranteed amount that we were going to pay the hotel. So in order to spend the amount of money, we gave you drink tickets. So use those 4 drink tickets.
Thanks.
Betsy, can I have your drink tickets since you've given it up?
I got this opportunity. After your presidential year, we always have a Pets member at large from our district. Next year, if you're interested in being that Pets member at large, we're looking for somebody, and you can serve on the Pets Council, and we're looking for somebody to do that. So,
I appreciate it. I wasn't being aggressive.
yeah, I'm not. I mean, we looked at that, and I can tell you that I've looked at it closely because I'm kind of overly fiscally
And I'm
responsible.
just gonna say, give it the weekend. I think that the interaction that you find between the presidents and how is beneficial and invaluable. I think the value of being together, especially after what we all have been trying to do in our own clubs, this is a really, an especially important year that we find our way back to each other so that we can start doing this together again. Because I feel like a lot of us felt like we were on islands. And if you were the president during 2021, like I was, it sucked. And, to be able to come back and do this, I think you're going to find invaluable.
Yeah, the opportunity to come to Pets and to deal with not only the people in this room who you're going to see again, hopefully, but people from other districts is invaluable. I mean, you just get to see a whole different part of Rotary. And you can take that, the opportunity, and if you want to take that another step, go on a mission trip, go on a trip to another country. It just,
Go to Australia. For the national.
We can move on. I'm feeling really it's a simple question.
Other questions? Any questions from the Zoom? Okay, can I have a motion to accept the budget?
So move.
Second.
Second? Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Oh, there's a hand? Oh, no, that was a thumbs up. A thumbs up and a smile from Brian King, so. Thank you very much. Where are we at on time?
We're good.
Okay, so we've got some AGs in the room. If you're an AG, raise your hand. Yeah, I'm going to ask you AGs to do something. So if the AGs would share with us, why is it important that the clubs get to know you and work with you? What do you have to offer to your clubs? John, go ahead, John.
What was the question?
That's why we're AGs.
Why is it important that the clubs get to know you and work with you? What do you have to offer your clubs?
Our job is to make you look good and to be the connection between the governors who have all this power and to help answer simple questions or even hard questions. We try to visit at least every couple of months or more, depending upon our job schedule and what we do and how many clubs we have. But we're that conduit back to the district. So we're available to make a personal visit. We will be there when the governor makes the governor's visit. And we have, we're all past presidents, so we've been through that. And we hope for a good relationship in person, on the phone, email. Ask us. We don't, all of us know all the technology, but we know Rich Lally. So, so we'll give you that answer. That good enough?
Very good. Dave?
I just say we're your connection to the district, and what we do is tell you what's going on in the district as well as bring things back to the district that you need to be taken back. I can think of a couple examples, but that would be like picking on one of my clubs, so I don't want to do that. But the connection is real important in the sense that you feel like you're connected, and sometimes you have problems in your club, and if we're there, you're able to see us in person and do it kind of discreetly and say, hey, I've got this problem, and we're there to help you solve that problem.
Paul?
We are the people who take some of the burden off of that guy. If the 20 of us or so weren't around, you'd be calling the governor every day rather than calling us. And it behooves us to know who does what in the district so that we can get answers for you, or we give you a name of somebody who knows what the question is that you're asking. So for instance, some of my clubs are not real up on what the foundation really is and how they can use that. So we sometimes make that connection. And right now, 2 of my clubs are going to have Suzanne Gibson come out and talk to them about the foundation. Those are the kind of connections we can help you make. And as one of these guys said, we've been presidents before, and some of us maybe more than once. So we do know what it's about. The other part of it is the reason we need to be physically at your club is not to in any way lord over you or in any way enforce edicts of some kind. We already mentioned that we want to remind you of certain things and inform your members, maybe for the second or third time, about these kinds of things, so that they'll know there's an importance to it, and that we as the district all come together in unity to do that. But the key thing is that if I don't go to the meetings, nobody's ever going to think of me to call me if they have a problem or if they have a question. So again, he'd get all the questions. So I need to be there as a face and be a real human. So I need to go to the meetings and get to know the people that are there. And sometimes I can see where I can give a little advice to the president or to somebody else and say, maybe you could tweak this a little bit, but it's, and I always say it's up to you guys. I've got one club that didn't know what belonged under each service. It was confusing to them. So I wrote out an outline and gave it to them, and they're working on getting committee members underneath those committees that make sense and have the right order to things. So that kind of stuff. So that's what we do.
One thing I want you to remember is that when somebody from the district comes out, whether it's your assistant governor or whether it's Mary or Thor or me, we're not the police. You didn't do anything wrong when we come out. Sometimes people think when we come out, must have done something wrong. We're not the police. I mean, and your assistant governor, what is concerning sometimes to us is when we hear about a problem that we probably should have known about a long time ago, and because we could have helped a long time ago, and that's troubling. Is that if because little problems can become big problems if they get ignored. So
That's when we get the call.
yeah, that's why you need to involve your AGs and communicate with your AGs, and if the AGs are able to spot, they know when there's a problem, whether or not they need to get us involved.
As long as you're all here, one thing I'd request from all the presidents is to make sure that the AGs get every email that goes out to the rest of the club. Not
Right.
everything that's intimate between everybody, but a lot of times the AGs don't get those, and so we don't get to report the good things you guys are doing in the district or participate even in some of those things that you would want us to participate in if we don't see those emails.
If you've got a newsletter, put the AG on your newsletter list.
Yeah, Governor Bill, I'd just like to know, I'm in Northbrook Club. When are we going to find out who our AG is?
We're working on that right now. We're working on the list. We've compiled the list. We haven't allocated, we haven't decided which clubs are going to take yet.
Okay.
Question for the AGs. We're meeting currently hybrid at Illinois Beach Sunrise, so some in person, some on Zoom. Is it a nuisance that you get a Zoom invite every week to join us, or is it beneficial that we are continuing to put the AGs on that Zoom invite?
Everything you can send us, send us.
Okay.
We'll
Are
just-
you sending an invite to everybody in your club every week?
Yes,
You just put your AG on that list and he can be able to join in when.
Angela's on the list. I just want to make sure it wasn't a nuisance.
I would just say yes, and I had to actually ask to be put on lists for that, so thank you for taking the age.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
How long are the terms that the AGs serve?
It's a lifetime commitment.
I'm going for my 12th year.
It's supposed to be 3 years, but it's not necessarily 3. Paul, how long have you been an AG?
12 years with 1 year out when I had cancer. That's it. But that's because I choose to. Every year, these
That's
guys
right.
come along and say,
John Allen.
do you want different clubs? Do you want to stay? You know, he just did that to me last week on the fly out of a meeting.
John, how about you? How long have you been an AG?
I think 4, maybe 5.
It depends on it. Some people do it for a long time. Some people do it for a year and they say, that's really not, we ask people to do it 3 years, but some people just, that's not what they want to do. Linda, you were an AG for a year?
No, I did the
Oh,
full
you did the
3-year
3 years?
term.
Do we know by club who will be our assigned AG next year?
You will know soon. That was Mitch's question. We don't know who they are yet. I think
Yeah.
John's going to be your AG. So if you got a problem with it, let me know. John's good. Okay, now we've heard from the AGs. How many returning presidents do we have? Okay, from the returning presidents, tell us, we want to hear from you. What advice would you have for the people that are going to be presidents the first time?
Good question is, are you a returning president from last year or did some time pass?
Right, okay. If you're a returning president from last year, first, we'll take those. You're a returning president from last year. What advice do you have? Lindsay?
Do not miss the training.
Do not miss the training.
What did she say?
Do not miss the training. Sarah?
If you don't have one, start working on your president-elect.
Good point.
I would say, don't underestimate your resources. There's a lot of information out there that I didn't look at in my first year, and I wish I had. And now halfway through this time, I'm like, man, all these questions are answered if I just went on my Rotary, if I went on 6440, if I talk to Linda more, these questions are there, but just don't underestimate your resources.
Don't ignore, Club Runner, My Rotary. There's a ton of information out there to help you. Don't ignore your club. I mean, you've heard the best advice. Start looking for your replacement right now. I mean, because if you don't find a replacement, if you two guys are here next year.
I should have looked last year, so I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
But the other one is, don't be afraid to ask.
Mhm.
Because people are.
Absolutely. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people in your club would do something if you ask them. But if you're afraid to ask, they're not going to do it.
Can I ask the two-time presidents a question?
Go ahead.
Do you feel like you're better prepared the second time than the first? And do you think you'll get more done the second time than the first?
I think the answer is yes. And Jackie and I are actually going to be co-president next year because she was president when COVID started. And we started purchased a business and had my father have a stroke. And so I was unable to do the things and prepare for this year that I wanted to do. So I feel like this year I have been building the plane while flying it, and I don't want to do that next year. do-over. Yeah, definitely.
Marty Anderson's online.
Okay, Marty Anderson, you have a comment?
Well, my 2 cents on it, yeah, and I was not president last year, it was like 3 years ago, would be, don't feel like you've got to give full attention to everything. You'll be overwhelmed. Pick and choose where you're gonna go, what you're gonna use out of all the resources, and have people that you delegate to, but don't think you have to pay full attention to everything.
John Hannis, did you have a comment?
Along those same lines, I put it into the chat there, but I'll read it out. Just know your limits, set your own boundaries, and delegate. When I was a president back in 2013-14 in our neighboring district, I got very good at saying no to people without actually saying no. And so that's the advice I'd leave with everybody. There were a lot of people who had a lot of great ideas. They came to me as though I was going to make the decision for them and take on the project and take on the experience. And instead of saying, no, I'm not going to do that, I said, that sounds wonderful. Thank you for bringing up this idea. Can you do some more research? And then I'll have you help lead the committee that will do this. And that tended to calm people down at that moment. So just a little trick.
John, there was a guy named William Oken that wrote a book many years ago called Taking the Monkey Off Your Back. And the book was exactly about that. Don't let somebody throw a monkey on your back, put it back on theirs back. And
Yeah.
somebody tries to throw a monkey on your back.
At Ellen Young.
Ellen Young.
Unmute yourself, Ellen.
Okay, I think one of the things that I find very helpful is to understand and learn all the other names of the presidents and collaborate and communicate with them, because you can learn from each other based on some of the challenges that are kind of thrown at you during your presidential year. And as someone who's done this now, this will be the 6th time. I'm always learning, and there's always something new to learn, and it's not necessarily in your own head.
Thank you, Ellen. Other comments? Any current presidents that aren't going to be presidents?
Juan Carlos
next
has
year?
a comment too.
Juan Carlos.
Hi, how's it going, everyone? Well, I would say, I'm a current president right now, and I've heard a lot of comments. People were happy to be on Zoom, people not being happy to be on Zoom. But, taking that advantage of connecting with people that you probably did not connect with because you were so focused to the only one model. We were able to get a Rotary club started. We were able to do a lot of, lead ways with some community members and just use that to your advantage.
Okay, thank you, Juan Carlos. Okay. All right, we're going to wrap up now and head to the Grand Ballroom for Jennifer's presentation.